What is the difference between a god and a devil? Were Imu and Joyboy friends during the Void Century? And does Imu have a black sword? The third person to have a black sword in the whole story of One Piece. Hey everyone, this is Animotion and welcome to another one of our videos. In this video we're going to talk everything about One Piece chapter 1181, about Imu's philosophy, about Imu's black blade, Imu's and Joyboy's connection, and everything told in the intro. And before we move on to the main video, be sure to like this video, share this video with your fellow One Piece and anime fans, subscribe to our channel Animotion, and with the self-promotion out of the way, let's get back into the main video. One Piece chapter 1181 was really a good one. It gave us a bit of really everything. It gave us a lore about Imu and Joyboy. It gave us a very cool fight scenes between Imu and Loki. And most importantly, it gave us a behind the scene look of how Imu thinks, his philosophy. You know, the guy who always is in his silhouette looking at Lily's picture in his castle. We got to see how he thinks, right? And it is pretty interesting how he sees. So stick right to the end to know everything about this chapter and a lot more details that I've just found out during reading this chapter of One Piece. So this chapter begins with a little bit of cameo from none other than the one and only, the former king of Elbaf, King Harold. He is dead right now, so RIP Mr. Harold, may your soul rest in peace. Now we got to see how King Harold felt during his run as the king of Elbaf. He really wanted Loki to succeed him, and he was even ready for Loki to kill him and just take the throne from him. And during that time we also just get to see that Imu really felt that when King Harold died, he was the one that was the victim, right? Imu is genuinely saying that he was the victim when King Harold died. You're right, like he says, Mu was the victim. And this is pretty interesting because this is very different from any other anime villains. They're generally, you know, very smart, a bit of douchebag. But Imu here is genuinely being portrayed as someone who thinks that he is the protagonist of the story. And he's not, by the way, he's not, just clearing things out. But he is genuinely seeing himself to be the protagonist. He just made an image of himself just from a few lines from the very beginning of this chapter. And that is what I call great writing. And Imu is being written perfectly at this point. Speaking of being written perfectly, the fight between Loki and Imu is also being portrayed pretty perfectly at this point. You know, no one is having an upper hand at this point, and we all thought that hey, Imu is here, he might just get the upper hand. Loki might just take the L and just Luffy will wake up. He will be refilled with all the food he's taking, and then he's going to destroy Imu, or they might just team up after that. But right now, Imu and Loki are probably very close to each other. Although the smile at the end of the chapter that Imu gave really shows that hey, Imu is still pretty, you know, reserved through his power. He's really holding back. And one funny thing that all of you guys probably noticed, that is during the fight with Imu, we just get to see the adorable Ragnir in action. And the little squirrel face during Loki's blows is pretty cute, and it is pretty dramatic, and it can only happen in a story like One Piece, right? An important serious fight, probably one of the most important fights till date, is going on, and we just get to see one of the weapons face being a little squirrel, a little cute squirrel to be pretty precise. And moving on from Ragnir, we just got to see that question that everyone is probably talking about in the internet, that is, what is the difference between a god and a devil? Now this question is pretty philosophical in the world of One Piece, because in the world of One Piece, the persons who call themselves the god, the celestial dragons, are really the bad guys, right? They don't have any heart, they are pretty bad, they are pretty annoying, and they really do a lot of bad stuff. But they, in their brain, in their heart, they really think that hey, we are not doing anything wrong. We are the gods of this world, so we can do whatever we want. This is the philosophy Oda is playing with. In this world of One Piece, the people who are portrayed as the god, or the people who are pretending to be the god, are actually the real devil. They don't have any heart. No, the celestial dragon, again, that is the main big deal. But the people who are being portrayed as the real devil in this world are probably the real gods, because they are the person who are genuinely having great hearts. They are helping each other out. So probably the D clan member, maybe the D stands for devil at this point. But you know, classic anime trope, the tables are being turned, The gods are being portrayed as the devils and the devils are being portrayed as the god. But whatever the case, this questions really to stem a lot of things about how Imu thinks. This question really makes me feel that, hey, Imu is seeing himself to be the real god of this world. He really thinks that whatever he is doing is for the betterment of this world. And this is really terrifying because in the world of One Piece, Conqueror's Haki stems from what people think and how strong their willpower is. And if the case is there that Maki and Conqueror's Haki are not the same thing, which I don't think it is. I think Maki and Conqueror's Haki are pretty same, maybe a bit opposite to each other, but they generally do the same thing. But Imu in this chapter is being shown to have Conqueror's Haki. If again Maki is not same to Conqueror's Haki, then Imu is a confirmed user of Conqueror's Haki. Just like the clash between Whitebeard and Roger, the weapons were not touching. This is the classic thing about Conqueror's Haki. This is how you identify Conqueror's Haki, the only way, right? And in this chapter, when Imu's black flames or his omen attack, his Maki attack, he's really making everything under the Maki umbrella at this point. And that attack clashed with Loki's Ragnir. The weapons were not in contact and there was a huge explosion. You could see in the very next panel that there were red lightning nodes. So it is pretty confirmed that Imu is having Conqueror's Haki. Again, if Conqueror's Haki and Maki are not the same thing. Now, this is the most terrifying part. If Maki and Haki are, let's just say they are not the same thing and they are a bit different, then Imu could probably be one of the strongest Conqueror's Haki user ever. If it is his philosophy that he is the real protagonist of the world, it could be very terrifying very quickly. We also got to see Imu's black blade, and this is another classic moment from One Piece. The same attack Mihawk used against Luffy during Marineford, Imu used almost the same version of it. The Luffy version was not connected to him, he did not really got stabbed through himself, but Loki did got stabbed, Loki probably has a huge regeneration ability because at this point my guy was stabbed by Cerberus, he was stabbed by Imu, Kai is getting stabbed everywhere, so let's just hope he's okay, or maybe he has a thing for stabbing, right? Who knows, it's his choice. But at this point of time we could easily see and in this panel and how Oda draws that this blade Imu uses is probably a black blade, the third black blade we ever saw in this story. The first one we saw was from Mihawk, the second was from Ryuma, and now it is from Imu. It is pretty sensible that Imu is having a black blade, right? It is not something that no one expected. Imu was portrayed to be the main villain, although currently I don't think Imu is the main villain anymore. Maybe Elbaf is a chapter where Imu gets done and dusted. But he having a black blade is nothing to be surprised about. My guy was living like 800 years ago during Void Century, so if he doesn't have a black blade, who will, right? So that's just awesome, and this confirms a lot of things because the fighting style between Imu and Mihawk is pretty similar, and the whole thing about Mihawk's eye and Imu's eye being the same is also out there. So Mihawk and Imu are probably connected. Maybe Mihawk's full name is Narona D Mihawk, maybe, who knows at this point. But let's just hope that there is some connection because again, my boy Mihawk and Dragon are probably the two characters that has not done anything in the story or doesn't have too much showing of their power. But if we just move out from both Dragon and Mihawk and Imu, we got Joyboy to talk about because our boy Joyboy is the only person in the whole One Piece fandom to be so hyped. My guy have Haki knots, my guy have everything at this point. He is the previous owner of the whole Nika fruit and he is having a great conversation with Imu. The panel we just saw, it was a small panel and the conversation looked like they were pretty much friends or maybe rivals. That is also out there. Ash and Gary also have pleasant conversation. Gary was a bit of teasing and then he became a professor and everything else. And we could also combine it with Asta and they are also pretty good friends, right? And they are also rivals. Who wants to be the Wizard King? That rivalry. So it is pretty evident to see that Imu and Joyboy were probably some kind of friends or rival, and it is very interesting because I don't think anyone thought that Imu and Joyboy are going to be friends. Rivals a lot of people do thought, including myself, but friends is a very, very interesting thing to see. So let's just see where it goes. And One Piece is something in this chapter is being shown, and maybe in the next 10 chapters the thing is completely flipped over. So it is very important to keep in mind, so just don't get overwhelmed by seeing Joyboy and Imu in the same panel. And with that, this video comes to an end. If you guys watched till the end, be sure to like this video, share this video to fellow One Piece and anime fans, subscribe to our channel Any Emotion. And with that out of the way, I am out. Peace.